Now we're back. Yes, check, 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 check. Okay, good morning. It's morning here. We're coming live from Europe, and it's early in the morning. I couldn't sleep, so I figure what to do, and I just drank my cup of coffee, and I think just before I go to work, I make another live stream. Um, Last night I uploaded the video of the Audi V8, and that got me thinking about the next live stream I was supposed to do somewhere in middle of October, but yeah, I felt like doing it right away actually. So we talked about classic Audis, which is the V8 is one of them, and the RS2. So I want to show you a few classic Audis for sale here in the Netherlands and see the ridiculous prices that you have to pay for this, because you have to pay a lot of money for nostalgia. Let me check if everything is okay. Mic is on, video is on. Yeah, all seems in order. Just a double check here as well. Yeah, excuse me. So this looks all fine. Yeah, let's do it. So let's start with the brand Audi, of course, and we have models here. I remember my dad owning a Audi 80 in the 90s, the 2.3 with the 5-cylinder. Eventually he started with the 1.8. These are not that expensive anymore. It's really a classic Audi, but look at the model years. I mean, 1990, 94. Let's see if I can find the 2.3. Probably not. 1.9E. E standing for injection, I suppose, because this is from a time when they still had the carburetors. And so the 2.8, wow. So this is probably top spec, but you see 12K, you still need to pay for this. And the other ones were all below 1000. 1992, so I think this model ran until 94-ish, 95. We covered this. This is in the basis also what the RS2 is based upon, the Audi 80. But let me look at the displacement 2.8. Yeah, classic Audi rims, but 12K it's really a lot of money for this car. Look how 80s, 90s you want to have it. I mean, this is German hospitality, let me put it like this. But it didn't drive an awful lot, and I'm sure it has a 6 in line. Must be. Yes, it's a 6-cylinder. They also had it in 5-cylinder. But for the sake of this video, I have to. I think this is the B4 Audi B or B3. Oh, wait, let me just make it easy on myself. The Audi 80. So this is the Audi 80, and that was not the first, but the second. I think this is second generation B. No, this is second. This is the third. So this is it was the B4. Okay, and this was built until 1994. So I was right. Okay. Let me check the engines. The 2.3 was the 5-cylinder. So my dad had a 5 in line, which at the time I was 95. I was 10 years old. But I remember the distinct 5-cylinder sound coming from the exhaust. So the 2.8 is basically the top spec model, the V6, and above that you have the S2 and the RS2. So these are different products from Audi Quattro. So the 2.8 is the highest spec you can find. Automatic gearbox. Let me check. 174 horsepower. This is a lot of money. Yeah, this is a lot of money. This is also a lot of money, which is crazy. I mean, close to 300,000 euros for Audi 200, and it only has 1 kilometer. This looks like a model car. This really doesn't even look like a real car. Not going to spend too much time on this. Let's just move on. So, okay. This is even older. I also see these around, especially in Germany. Oh, it's not available anymore. This is probably the first generation Audi 80. But this is too old for me. I don't really get nostalgic because of this. I mean, I get nostalgic because of the Audi 80, because My dad had it, and that's the time that I became fascinated about cars. And these can be picked up for not that much money. I still remember when they were in the showroom in the 90s. So that's where my nostalgia comes from. 95 one, not a lot of kilometers on it, still close to 6K. This is actually the same color that my dad had the car, like this red color. Yeah, still remember it. I mean, this is from a time that Audi still needed to prove itself, and but these cars are quite reliable. They age well. You can still drive around in them, but everybody knows it's an old car. The 2 liter. Let me check the power output on that one. I'm just curious now. I have it open anyway. The 2 liter. Yeah, so you had the two variants. Maybe the E is this one with 115 horsepower. And trust me, that's not a lot. It's not a lot, and those cars weren't fast. They really weren't fast. You really had to go back 1 or 2 gears in order to really get it moving and get it up in the higher rev range for something to happen. So that's the Audi 80, which is by now you could consider it a classic, yes, but I was actually looking for something else. Ah, Jesus. Let me take a sip of coffee. 80. The 90 was also nice, but that was more placed higher up. Oh, this is a 2.3 with the 5-cylinder. Nice. So this has the 5-cylinder. And this was, yeah, a little bit more upmarket than the 80. Yeah, these, I still remember this. Yeah, you see, I get nostalgic because of it, but is it a really pretty car? No, but it just reminds me of my childhood, basically. I still remember this badging also on the back of my dad's car. Yeah. I mean, it still has APK, which is kind of it's tested. It's like what you have in the United States, smog tested, and if make sure it's road legal basically until October 2025. And because it's from '87, it is a classic car, but you still need to pay road tax for it. In order for you not to have to pay road tax anymore, a car needs to be over more than 40 years old here in the Netherlands. So that will still take a while. Moving on. The Audi 100. All classics. The 1.8. I think the CC was the top spec model. Oh, you don't see these no more. But this is the 5-cylinder with a 2-liter 5-cylinder. Yeah, I don't know what's wrong with me, but somehow I like is a big word, but it has something. It has a lot of nostalgia. I remember these cars driving around. I do. It's been imported from Germany probably. It looks nice. Yeah, this is in impeccable state for a car from the late 80s. I mean, come on. It's been well maintained. Everything in big German letters up here. Fahr. Oh, okay. I thought it said Fahrschule, which is kind of like when you take driving lessons, but then this car wouldn't look like the way it does. Yeah, looks impeccable. You almost, yeah, I don't think there's rust, and maybe it's already a lot of aluminium used. I'm not sure. Here, this is the 5-cylinder, the 2-liter. Also, maybe a bit above 100 horsepower. I mean, that was normal for the time. Now, having close to 200 horsepower, yeah, it's not 150-ish. It's normal from a 1.2 or from a 1-liter 3-cylinder with a turbo. But these engines, I mean, 116 horsepower from a 2-liter 5-cylinder. I mean, these engines don't really have to work that hard. That's why they're also reliable. And this one has already more than 200,000 kilometers on it. Yeah, I think it's a very fair price. it's a fair price, but yeah, it's imported, so you don't really know the exact history. Here you see it's from Volkswagen Audi dealer somewhere in the Wuppertal, which is yeah, of course Germany, but it's not that far from the. It's maybe 1 hour, 1.5 hours drive from the Dutch-German border. Yeah, a car like this needs to have a good story. But when you look at it, like from the pictures, it kind of looks impeccable. I mean, yeah, you got an old car, but you got something classic. You got something you don't see around anymore. It's still a practical car. I'm still, yeah. It depends how it was maintained. This car probably slept inside, probably only driven nice weather or really been maintained well. Every time there was a winter and there was salt on the road, they probably cleaned it. Otherwise, you can't have a car that this old. I mean, what is it? This is 36 years old. So a couple of years from now, it turns 40. If you maintain it well, you get to that 40-year-old level, you don't have to pay road tax anymore. You got a reliable 5-cylinder. Yeah, it's 116 horsepower. So what? You drive 80, 90 kilometers down the highway, let other people overtake you, and you enjoy it. I'm still sure it can do 140, 150 kilometers on the Autobahn if needed. If needed. But yeah. But that's my personal opinion. Let's see. This is the Audi 100. Also, still remember this being in the showrooms. This is basically before the Audi A6 hit the market. So this is the Audi 100, which was their executive sedan. Let's see if we can make this bigger. Yeah, then I'll do it like this. Yeah, I remember these coloring exactly. I still remember when they were in the showroom, they were like 100,000 guilders back then, what they cost. So that's kind of the equivalent of 55 K in euros today. 91, it's a long time ago, almost a 3-liter V6. So that's nice. Probably imported as well. This looks clean. But you don't see a license plate, so you can't do a check. I think double pipes means it does have a turbo, but I will check that later. Yeah. This was luxury in the 80s and the 90s. I mean, but look at this for the time, how old it is and how it looks. I'm sure it's still a great car. And Audis are not really known for their driving dynamics and stuff, but you got a piece of history, definitely. I mean, for me, again, personally, this is bringing back a lot of memories and nostalgia. It does. It's nice that it's a manual as well, because I think the automatics were back from the day. This is way before DSG. I don't think those automatics are that well, but manual manual shifters from that time, it's fine. Yeah, this looks like stainless steel. Maybe it's still original, who knows. I don't know what kind of tires this is. Yeah, the V6 doesn't look bad, not bad at all. Maybe 6K is a lot, but let me get some specifications. So almost 100,000 K driven, 150K driven. Let's see. Okay, it doesn't currently have a status if it's road legal or not, so it still needs to be tested. It's not imported, which is a big plus, so you can trace back all the vehicle history. Makes it easier. 2.8 V6 with only a bit above 170 horsepower, and it doesn't have a turbo. Okay, fine. So that's another classic. Yes, another one, right? The 2.3 also. This is also the 5-cylinder. It's a first owner car from 1990. Almost 10K. That's a lot, but that usually means that it's still in very good shape. Yeah, this takes me back to the 80s, but this is actually the spec you want with the 5 cylinder, not the 2 liter, but the 2.3, just a little bit extra. And for this model, I think this is, and also for the Audi 80, I think that's the only 5 cylinder they had. Oh no, they had the 2 liter. We just saw that. Hey, it's early. I need to drink a bit more coffee. But look at this. How 80s is this? Also with the wrap around the steering wheel, crazy. Mm. Yeah. See what time it is. Ah, 6:30. All right, moving on from the Audi 100 to the 200. Oh no, we already saw that one. The A1. These are all modern cars. So all the A1, A3, A4. They're all modern Audis. There are not classics yet. I don't think many of them will become one. Audi Coupe might become a classic. You also have them with the 2.35 cylinder. I mean, look at the prices. Maybe it's a bit ridiculous, but when you look for, I mean, you also have these in convertible. I'm sure it's fun to own one of these. Just a small German coupe. You can also go for the W2103 C-Class coupe, but this is older and this is more 90s even. You know, the W203 was early 2000s, so yeah, not bad, right? I remember classmates of mine in 2005 driving around with this, and this was from 1990. And back then, these cars were dirt cheap. Couple of €100, you had one of those. But you can see the prices go up over the years because a lot of people are very nostalgic about the 80s and the 90s, me included. So here you see Audi 200, maybe not the V8, and here you see older Audi 80. So maybe he specialized in Volkswagen and Audi. This looks like a Quattro or maybe also a Audi 100, 200. Yeah, and this is also an Audi. Not sure what this is, but anyway, let's see if we can. Yeah, I remember this. Some religious stuff here. I remember my dad using the almost exact same stereo. Maybe it is the same. I mean, my memory is good, but not that well. I think it's about like an Audi original stereo he used, and the stereo would get so hot, the tape deck would get so hot that it would melt the tape, especially when it was above 30 degrees outside. I don't think those cars had air conditioning yet. Um, and when you're listening to the music for quite a long time, it can become so hot that the tape would melt a bit. Not all the way, of course, but you would get it out. It would be a bit sticky, and you just see that because of the heat, it was misformed a bit. I remember that. Just a cute anecdote. Um, okay, so this is a coupe from 82. All right, gold edition. Yeah, yeah. Okay, you just have to see it. This is a bit too old, maybe for my liking, but maybe here. Look, he's has a lot of Audis here, but the shape it's in, it's quite impeccable, I must say. The gold edition. This is a GT. Let's see what kind of engine it's rocking. I want to see some of the interior shots. Yeah, yeah, quite nice seats. Maybe why it's the gold edition? Leave me a comment if you know, but I have no idea why it's the gold edition. Is it because it's gold, or is this because of the rims? Not a whole lot of kilometers. This must come from Germany as well, I suppose. 37 years old, the car. Look at all the Audis he's got. Also 5 cylinder, 131 horsepower, 2.1 5-cylinder, and it's imported. Yeah, nobody would buy this in the Netherlands in the 80s. I mean, it was probably too expensive, and it's not a very practical car, as you can see. All right, another coupe, 93, so barn find, original. Yeah, what does this mean? Barn find, and it's original, so it's still got some work to do, but it's 27.5. What do you buy for 27.5 for such an old car? What's special about this? Yeah. Oh, 230 horsepower. That's a lot. Oh, this is a S2. Okay, that makes all sense now. Yeah, I mean, 230 in a coupe in 93, that was spectacular. Yeah, okay, it's a S model. Now I understand why it's that expensive. But you see, I mean, 10 years ago, these cars were never cheap. Okay, let me get that straight. But I'm sure this car doubled in value the last 10 years. It just did. Is it worth it? I don't know. But hey, you got something very special. There's not a lot of these around no more. Not a lot. I wonder if this has Quattro as well. I'm not sure. Hopefully we can find that out. Yeah, the S2. I remember these cars being on display, and these were about you had this S2, and the upgraded version was the RS2, which I did a video about as well. These were about the first RS models, the sportive Quattro division of Audi that make cars. I mean, you went from 115 to 230. I mean, that's such a big improvement. With the same weight of the car, of course, different brakes and everything, of course, but this was so much more than the average products, basically. Let's see. Black, the model. Okay, so the model is from 89 until 96. What else we got? Anything worth mentioning? More specifications. Pulling weight. Service documentation. 0 to 100 in 6.6 seconds, 5.9. Almost drives 150 miles an hour or 248 kilometers an hour from a 5-cylinder. Not sure if this has a turbo or not. Not sure. Let's see if we can find that out. This is the S2 Quattro. It's also 5 in line. Yeah, makes sense. 230, but no turbo. All right, moving on. So this is the Audi Coupe. Let's see what else we got. These are all new. Maybe we can still find a Quattro. Yeah, the Quattro itself is, of course, very expensive nowadays. The Quattro I'm talking about. Here, this is 85. 2.2. I mean, this is crazy, right? Look at this. But let me just go for a bit more normal. 85, the 2.2, the 5-cylinder. This is a lot of money, guys. I mean, but this is an icon. If you think about the rally sport that was also at the 80s, must be in the 80s. I mean, you had the Peugeot 205, the GTI, you had this one, you had the Ford, you had the Lancia Delta. They all competing for this rally championship, and Audi won many of those, but the Peugeot with the 205 was also very successful. But this is the time where it came from. Let's see. Is it worth it? I'm not sure, but I think that this is so 80s. I think you have this one also with an all digital cluster, and that makes it even more 80s. There is great Autobahn footage online when it comes to this car that they blasted down the highway. It's not an original Quattro. They did some tweaks with it, but it's apparently to the guy that made the video, it's very scary to drive. It's like a bit unpredictable, especially when the turbo kicks in. It has a big turbo lag, and then all of a sudden the turbo kicks in, and it sends all the power to the wheels. Granted, it has Quattro, so it's all-wheel drive. That really makes a big difference, but it's still kind of a scary car to drive. It's difficult to tame. But what he said is when you need to the throttle decides if you can stay within the right power band of the engine and the right turbo pressure. So you could kind of, when you floor it, then it becomes unpredictable. But when you kind of play with the throttle bit, if you catch my drift, then it was to a certain degree controllable. Granted, this is all-wheel drive. It's always going to be safer than just front-wheel drive with this power output, or rear-wheel drive with this power output. So come rain, come shine, most of the time you can put this power down. But you need to know this car. It's an analog car. It probably doesn't have a lot of driver assistance packages on it. Very analog. For people that really love driving, this is fantastic, because it lets you control the car completely. And there are no safety systems to keep you out of the ditch, right? So this is pure driving. And a lot of people that love driving in cars appreciate that. I mean, I'm sure there are people that drive this car and they come back with their palms all sweaty themselves because they're full of adrenaline, and that's the whole pleasure of it, right? Yeah, some people are just wired that way. Yeah, nice car, quite expensive. 2.25 cylinder, but I'm sure it has different outputs. So here you see 160. Let me go to a different one, 2.2 with a turbo. Okay, they didn't mention turbo here. Let me see, yeah, in white is also beautiful. This looks like it has a display, so probably this one has the the LCD. But let me check the power output of this car. Oh, documentation is so important with cars like this. And at this point, I'm not sure how it is when it comes to replacement parts, if they're still available, and at what numbers. Yeah, it's a beauty, right? I think so. I like these boxy cars with the nice grille. I mean, it's not too shouty, but it's still, I don't know, it has a certain stance. In many videos I talk about it, I just really can't express it in words. It's difficult. I mean, English is not my mother language. I really do my best, but there's just something about these cars that's completely lacking in modern Audis. I mean, modern Audis are just iPhones on wheels. It's a bit too flashy. It's about, yeah. I like it when Audi was a bit of an underdog. So this one has 200 horsepower, probably because it added a turbocharger on top of it. But if that turbocharger was able to go from 160 to 200, I have no idea. I'm not a big expert when it comes to these little details, but it's a 5-cylinder with a turbo, which is a fantastic combination, let me tell you that. Audi has this, and Volvo also with the T5, for instance. I mean, there's a whole fan base out there that like 5-cylinder turbos, and this is one of the originators. So let me see what is so special about this. It didn't drive a lot of kilometers, 85,000. But this is really the rally version, I suppose. You see, it's a bit different. 85. Jesus, man, it's old. Just like me. Anything special? Specifications. 6-speed. Yeah. You can buy it now for 600,000. You can finance it for close to 9K a month. Who's gonna do that? Who's gonna daily drive this car? Yeah. Anyway, funny stuff. Moving on. Quattro. That's the one that we had last. I don't think there's a whole lot of... oh yeah, of course, the RS2. What am I talking about? Here. Fantastic. This doesn't have a lot of kilometers, but it has to be imported. Has to be. This is more... Yeah, I mean, it's 95. Come on, man. What do you think? But you want it in this blue. Or I want it in this blue. This one has the 5-cylinder as well. Also the 2.2 with a power output of what? Yeah, imported as well. I don't see any power output here. I'm sure it's 250 or so. Of course, I still have this open. Oh wow, 316. That's nice. I think remember Chris Harris mentioned one time this is a genuine 300 kilometer an hour car, so above 150 miles an hour, and it had the Quattro package on it as well. So unheard of for the time. Like Audi was an underdog, the Audi 80 was kind of an underdog as well. I mean, you had the Mercedes 190, you had the E30, yes, around that time, and you had the Audi 80. It's such an underdog when it comes to styling and everything, and all of a sudden, bam! And I think when this came out, yeah, 94. Only one model year. Like at the because this car, let's see, the 4th generation was built until 94. So basically, the last year of production, they came out with the power package with the party edition of the Audi 80, and it was this one, the RS2. Made in conjunction with Porsche. I think they first did work on the W124, the E-Class, Mercedes, the 500E. Mercedes did that in conjunction with Porsche, whatever, blame me. And Audi did the same kind of trick with this RS2. So it has Porsche calipers here as well, the brake calipers, and I'm not sure if the chassis was also had. It must have differences compared to the original 80, Audi 80, because when you go from 160 horsepower to over 300 on the same chassis with the same brakes, it's not possible. So many parts of this car will be replaced by stronger parts, more durable parts. It has to be. I also don't think this is an Audi 80 original transmission. It must all be different. But look at the state of the car. Those Recaro seats, I mean, this was something when it hit the market in 94. I saw a few driving around, but you barely see those no more. Yeah. This all from the Netherlands. Maybe it's even a Dutch original car. Who knows? Let me see. Stop host. It looks like it. Yeah. Maybe this is not even an import car. I'm not sure. Here, look at this. 20 valve, 5-cylinder turbo, 5 inline. Moving on, guys. Let's see. Quarter before 7. Nice. Hey, sometimes you get to be productive and still go to work after this. RS3. It's an RS4, RS5, RS6, RS7, S6, SQ2. Oh, the SUVs. Let me see if I can find an older S6, one of the first generations. 2000, actually one from the 90s. With the 4.2 V8, what we talked about yesterday as well. This is a young timer. Is it the classic yet? Also like this styling. But I think every generation likes something from the time that they were young. I mean, in 2004, I was 19. And I just had my driver license for a couple of months. And this was driving around. Not a lot, but when you saw it, you notice it and you say, oh, this is the S6. And occasionally even saw an RS6. But all these cars are gone. Or you know, exported or whatever. But in the Netherlands, people don't buy this. You don't buy a 4.2 V8. I mean, the Netherlands is a very small country. The top speed used to be 120 kilometers. Nowadays, it's 100 kilometers. And after 7 o'clock in the evening, you can drive 120 up to 130. But in Germany, you have still stretches of autobahn. You can drive unlimited, and that's when these kind of engines really come to life. But again, just from an aesthetic point of view, early 2000s Audi, also beautiful. Definitely. And this looks like a very clean example as well. Let me see what they ask for it. But these cars can be bottomless pits. Could be. Don't need to be, but can be. And if they do, they will break your heart, and especially your wallet. Yeah, fantastic. Fantastic. This understatement of Audi, but when I look at this headlights, I also see the Passat in it from that era, actually. That's typical VAG. But Audi always a step higher in terms of performance and styling and the materials that they use in the cars, definitely. Let's see. So here we are at 340. It's quite a lot, but 340 from this 8-cylinder. Okay, it is also imported. Yeah, you see, we don't buy this in the Netherlands. We think it's too expensive, and we don't have those flat German autobahn here. Usually, most people drive half an hour to an hour. Some people stretch it up to 1.5 hours to 2 hours, but yeah, we want comfortable cruisers. So there's a lot of small diesel engines here. Used to be, because that's going now, especially here in the Netherlands. You see a lot of electric cars coming available, because Dutch people buy cars with their wallet, not with their heart. It's just different. And Germany is a car country. I mean, when you do lots of miles, 60 or 80 a year in Germany, you buy yourself a fat diesel, or you buy yourself a nice petrol car if you can afford the gas bills. Because also there, gas prices are rising. All right, let's see. We do one more and then we call it quits. So this was the RS. We had the S6, TT, TTRS. These are all too young. Okay, just for the sake of yesterday, we talked about the V8. Now we talk about the A8, and this is the S8. You never had an RS8 because that don't make any sense. It's a limousine basically. So this is the fastest A8. Also with the 4.2, of course. Let me see if I can find something extraordinary. Yeah, and that's this 5.2 V10 from 2006, back from the time that the world was crazy, but a more beautiful place, I would say. It's just fantastic that you have this option to just have this big, massive car with a 5.2 liter V10 in it. Look at this. Yeah. I mean, this car was legendary, and also not only because it was featured in the Transporter 2 movie, but also before that, just because Audi just had the balls to put a V10 in the car. Same thing with the RS6 from that era. They just put a V10 in it. Just blast everybody away. Like the AMGs and the M cars, Audi annihilated them. I think back in the day, the E-Class, the E63 AMG had about 450 horsepower, and the M5 from BMW had about the same power output, and the RS6 had 520. You know, just to show them like we're the boss. And yeah, this was for me the peak of Audi, when Audi made their point that they are not to be messed with, that they will not go away, and that it was a good alternative to a Mercedes and a BMW. But after this, I mean, for me personally, it went downhill. I don't like modern Audis. They're too flashy, too flashy. I don't like that at all. I mean, what I do appreciate is the Volkswagen Phaeton. Yeah, of course, it looks like a big Passat. So what? But you're riding on top of Bentley technology, right? And this one has the V8 from the Lamborghini in it. Maybe, yeah, of course, a detuned version, differently tweaked for the Autobahn, but still, This was a crazy time. Not sure how expensive this car was, but I'm sure it was quite a lot. Now let's see what they ask for it. So almost 500 horsepower from the 5.2 liter V10. Also imported, of course, built in December 2006. All right, and what they want for it, 14K. Yeah. Would you dare? I mean, if you buy this car, it did drive quite a lot of kilometers. But for V10, of course, I mean, you can drive quite a lot, but think about all the fuel that it consumed for reaching this mileage already. I'm sure this in town will do, yeah, we say 1 liter to kilometers, so maybe 1 liter every 4.5 kilometers. But anyway, if you spend that much money on a car, then you don't care about the gas bill. But now, come down the line, sometimes you see people, they have 20K in their pockets and they buy a car like this and they think, oh, I still got 7 left. Let's try it. Until the first repair bills come in and nah, it's not funny. So guys, I think, yeah, I can still drink a coffee and take my time and go to work. I just wanted to do this today because yesterday I made the V8 video and I just think, what about classic Audis? And I think I covered them all from the 80s and the Quattro, of course, the RS2, yeah, and the Audi Coupes, definitely. But I always have warm memories about those days when they had cars like this on display and for sale. This is before my time, but I still remember those driving around, especially in Germany, of course. Yeah, this is before my time, but the B4, that's yeah, where it started for me, the 90s. So let's see, it was similar to the B4 Passat, which is also from the 90s. I still remember these driving around as well. I think this even has the VR6 one. I can't see it. It's an old photo, but 96. I still remember this as well. And then later came the B5, which I also did a video on my channel about. Yeah, I want to thank you guys for watching. Have a great day, and yeah, see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.